God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I'm going to ask that we make one shift to the agenda this evening. Item 8, the Portland Public Schools Spotlight. I'm going to request that we move it up to become the new number 4 and shift the other items down one number accordingly. The replacement of the board member is going to be slightly lengthier due to unforeseen circumstances, so we want to make sure that we hear from our students and let them leave. So with that in mind, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you, Meg. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, it's unanimous. So let's proceed with our Portland Public Schools Spotlight, and I believe we're going to hear from the Portland High School boys golf team.
Come on up. So this has become an annual tradition for us, where we recognize another state championship. We were going to do this over the summer, but vacation schedules and things got in the way, and we wanted to make sure that we had everybody present here about a very successful season you had, and extend our congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having us here tonight. Extremely proud. This is our 5th state championship in the last 6 years, which is, when I signed on to this, I would have taken 1. It's just extremely special, and I'm really blessed to have such a great group of kids that I get to coach every year. This year we were 16-0, first perfect season I've had. I load the schedule up every year with the best teams in the state of Connecticut. Doesn't matter if they're class double L or whatever. We go against the best of the best. We played Glastonbury in the past. Conard High School this year would be Han Madison, who was the 2-time state championship at their course handedly. That was a good win. So again, they did an outstanding job. They also won a 2nd consecutive Shoreline championship, which I'm very proud of as well. This year we had 16 players participate in our team. We had 8 varsity players. Joining me today, I have 3 captains who I'm very excited they're all back next year. So we're pretty young still, which is great. I have Quinn Lipinski, Joe Lamalfa, and Luke Stennett joining me today as well. Also on our varsity team as well, we have Eli Evison, Eva's brother, who's a senior, started at Eastern. Did you start at Eva? Sorry, Coach.
Yeah.
Okay. We play basketball there. Ben Fectu, Giovanni DeSenza, and Aiden Peterson and Owen Brunk. So that made up the rest of our varsity team. I did want to give a quick shout out to these 3 young men who had outstanding seasons. Start with Joe, who's a junior, going into his senior year now. Joe medaled in 1 match this season. He was super consistent. He was first team all conference. He was one of the top 6 players in the Shoreline the last 2 seasons. And he was 1 spot away from All-State. So extremely proud of Joe's season. For his capstone project, he actually tied it to golf, which was awesome. We also have females on our team. So what Joe did for his capstone was he organized a girls tournament for the Shoreline Conference. So we had girls from all the teams of the Shoreline come to Portland West. We had 16 or so participants. Gorgeous day. Parents came and watched the girls play. And I'm proud to say that our girls, just like the boys, kicked butt. We took 1st place, 2nd place, and 5th place out of those 15 or 16 spots. So Joe did a great job on that capstone project. Also have Quinn Lipinski. Quinn going into his junior year. He had an outstanding sophomore season. He was one of the best players also in the Shoreline, first team all Shoreline, first team all state as well. And then in addition, he had an awesome state championship where he came in 3rd place in the entire field. And then we have Luke Stennett. Luke had the best overall scoring average in the state of Connecticut this fall. He dramatically won the Shoreline Championship, or tied for the win with a birdie on the 18th hole. And then 2 weeks later, he had an eagle on the 18th hole of the state championship to tie for that individual championship as well. So those 3 young men have had unbelievable seasons, and they're a big part of what we do. So thank you again, guys. A couple other things, just the community in general. I always want to thank everyone in the community. Obviously, this is a golf town. I don't know if you know, but we were there was like a bill to put Portland as the golf capital of the state of Connecticut.
Mhm.
I don't think it's gonna pass. I think other towns we're not happy with that, but I think we're the golf capital of Connecticut. We're really fortunate to have, the Kelly families at both Portland West and Portland Golf Course, Chris Cody, also Zach Stennett helped out, Jerry Amora, so the whole community really helps put them in a position to be successful. And again, finally, just overall, I have the best group of kids on this team. They represent what Portland Schools is about, high character, they outwork everybody, integrity, so everything that you would hope for as a Board of Ed, they represent that to the fullest. And we're excited, we have a lot of talent back, and we think our best is yet to come. So thank you for having us here tonight, we appreciate it.
Congratulations. Thank you, Jeff. Impressive.
Any questions or comments? Nope. Congratulations.
We'll see you next year.
That's really exciting.
Let's go. Congratulations to you. Thank you.
All right, so I believe that puts us, the new number 5, replacement of Board of Education member. As you all know, Sharon Peters had to step down, and that left a vacancy on the board. You have all been shared Kim Nagy-Marushak's resume. Just to highlight a couple of things, she's been a special education teacher for 20 years, and the last 6 of those years, she's run the Cromwell preschool program, special education preschool program. In addition, worth noting, she's had 6 years as her board level, her building level union rep. So I think that she brings a unique perspective to our board, and will make a really great part of our team. So I guess, are there any questions?
No?
Or I can ask for a motion.
Welcome to Kim, for sure. She does bring a wealth of information and knowledge, so I look forward to seeing her on the board.
If there are not any questions, I think we could take a motion.
I'd be happy to make a motion.
Yeah.
Is there a question? I'll make a motion to the Board of Ed to approve Kim Nagy-Marushak as the replacement Board of Ed member. A second.
All right, thank you, Meg and Lauren. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Looks like it's unanimous. Welcome, Kim. And as Kim is under the weather today, she's unable to be with us in person, so we are going to have a brief recess while our assistant town clerk heads down to swear her in, and we'll give Kim a few minutes to get settled, and she'll continue joining us on Zoom. She'll be officially seated for the duration of this meeting. So we're going to take, probably a 5-10 minute recess to let that happen, and then we'll be back. let us know when Kim is back on again. Cool. All right.
Congratulations.
Hi, Kim. So we're
Hi,
gonna,
everyone. Thank you. Thank you for your understanding.
not at all. We're glad you're with us. We're gonna call ourselves back to order. And the item next up on the agenda is the election of Board of Education Chairperson. So I'm going to hand the gavel over to Dr. Britton to
All
conduct
right.
this.
So I have the gavel, and our next task here is to begin by selecting a board chair. I will certainly entertain any motions that care to be proffered for board chair.
I'll make a motion to nominate Laurel Steinhauser as board chairperson.
I'll second.
Okay. So are there any other nominations? All right, so our bylaws call for this vote to be done by paper ballot, so I'm gonna hand out the ballots, and Kim, I'm gonna step out of the room and call you, and I will write in your selection, and hopefully you'll be able to verify that, so actually.
You gotta send more down that way.
Please.
Dave.
Here you go.
Yep.
Lauren, I will.
Well,
All right, and, let me cross this out, and I will go give Kim a ring. Call Portland Kim Navy.
Portland, Kim Nagy.
I hear you, Mom.
All right.
and can I have mine?
Thank you, thank you. Have everybody's ballots?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. It is unanimous. Congratulations, Laurel. You are no longer acting. You are officially our chair. So I can turn the gavel back over to you.
All right. I think my next job is to conduct the election for Board of Education Secretary. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Meg Scata.
Thank you, Lauren. I would second that. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'm going to close nominations, and
Same thing.
same deal.
Slide that down to Jim.
Oh, I get to count, I'm sorry. I'll take them back then.
That's right.
Apologies.
Yeah.
We have 5 votes for Meg and 1 abstention. Congratulations, Meg.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have to save those for our
Yep,
records, correct?
absolutely.
All right. All right, let's move it on. Here we go. Item 8, audience of citizens. Do you have any comments from other folks in our audience or online? All right. Looks like we have no comments at this time. We have up next our student representative reports. I believe you're going to introduce us to our new student
very
rep.
excited to introduce. So Leah Maysall, is she with us? Yep. She is returning, and I'm very excited to introduce Dorothy Riley, who is our new student representative. So is Dorothy with us too? Yeah. Excellent. Hi Leah. Hi Dorothy. Welcome.
Hi.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Great. So thank you very much for doing this. Congratulations, Dorothy. I think you're gonna enjoy this experience, and I'd be happy to turn it over to you for your update.
So the first week of school went very well. We had a Fall Spirit Week, which consisted of a USA Day and even an Adam Sandler Day. To finish off the week, we had a Fall Pep Rally where we introduced the fall sports teams and finished the afternoon with field games and Italian ice. And all in all, it was a great week, and the freshmen were able to get more comfortable with the school, the teachers, make friends.
And then for our fall sports this year, we have cross country, girls and boys soccer, swim, volleyball, and as well as football. And then when it comes to our freshman orientation, I would say about 90% of the freshman class showed up to it. They were able to take tours around the school and meet us students and get to ask us a lot of questions about the school environment and what goes on. And they also got to talk to us a little bit more one-on-one about our clubs and sports that we offer.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much for your reports. Any questions, board members? No. No.
No, but welcome. Congratulations on your appointment as student rep.
Yeah, we're all really glad to see both of you, and want you to know that you're welcome to participate in the rest of the meeting. Stick around, and if you have comments at any other point that you want to chime in and contribute to the meeting, you're welcome. We're happy that you're here. All right. Okay, Dr. Britton, communications and updates.
Okay, so let me start with a few communications. We have some additional resignations. I want to recognize some people for their service. So Nancy Bakos, Dawn's secretary, has resigned. Nancy is on her way to move to North Carolina, be closer to family. We wish her well, and she did a great job while she was with us. We have found a wonderful replacement for Nancy, but Nancy will be missed. She did a wonderful job for us while she was here. Andrew Sad, one of our paraprofessionals, has accepted a history teaching position at Bassick High School. I'm very excited for him. This is a very common pathway for people to go from paraprofessional to certified teaching positions. Wish him well, and hope he enjoys all the success in the world. Did we miss something? No.
Keep going.
Okay.
You're great. We'll catch it up later.
Also, Michael Maniscalco, paraeducator at Gildersleeve, he has resigned. I know he had a great experience. He's relocating to upstate New York. And we're in touch with Michael. He's made some lifelong friends here, and hope he and Elliot, by the way, if they're hearing this, do well in life and enjoy all their time in upstate New York. Heather McComber, one of our special education teachers in the district, she has tendered her resignation. Heather was with us for a couple of years. We wish her all the well, best of luck, and good wishes for her future career endeavors. Michelle Ianello, this is a heartbreaker. So Michelle is a longtime counselor here in the district, very highly regarded. Michelle worked through her 092 program. She's accepted a position as the Director of Counseling in the Greenwich Public Schools. So she's off into her administrator career. I know she's going to do a great job. It's going to be a long ride for her from Canton to Greenwich, but we'll hope she relocates us. She doesn't want to fight that traffic. I look forward to staying in touch with Michelle and hear how it goes as she starts her career in the Greenwich Public Schools. We're going to miss her very much. She's terrific in every way. Lizeth Restrepo, she was our teacher of English as a second language. She was with us for a couple of years. She was part-time position. She is returning to the New Haven Public Schools. She lives in New Haven. That's where we actually stole her from New Haven, and they stole her back. So I'm very sorry to see her go, but she did a great job for us, and we wish Lizeth all the best of luck. So I did include in your communications, you have a snapshot of the enrollment report. As a reminder, the big enrollment report is the October 1 enrollment, but otherwise you see our numbers are pretty consistent with last year. You should note that class sizes are pretty consistent across the board. We are very grateful that we added the kindergarten teacher. As you can see, it's necessary there. It keeps those class sizes, I believe, right where they need to be in order for us to maximize our success with students. So there's a snapshot of our first enrollment picture of the year. That next one in October is the big one. That's the one that determines a lot of our funding and otherwise our people allocations. But this is a good look at where we've started. Now, we are still registering students. Students are still coming in. I think that number is going to tick up a few more as we go through the rest of September here and into October. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions about either our resignations or enrollment.
Is it normal for that many to happen this close to the school year starting?
Well, unfortunately, I would prefer that people let us know in May and June, but you know, people do, like Michelle, for example, just got the job in late August. Would I say it's common? I think it's a little bit more than normal, a few more than usual, but we do have people resign, you know, throughout the summer. It's always complicated when it's happening in late August as opposed to May or June. We prefer people to give us notification then, but that's sort of the hiring season goes all year. The only difference I would point out between August hires is that we do have the ability to retain people who resign in August for a couple of weeks as we find their replacement. We did do that with Michelle. So yeah, it's not ideal when people leave in August. It kind of puts us in a little bit of a pickle, but it's not uncommon.
Charles, a lot of these folks shared their reason for moving on, but
Yep.
just curious, out of curiosity, in the cases where they haven't been upfront about why it is they're leaving, are you regularly conducting exit interviews with folks, and is Dawn conducting exit interviews with paras who move on?
Yeah, of course. You know, I would say across the board, people who are leaving are always leaving. Well, almost, I'd say 90% are leaving because they have other opportunities. They're moving out of state. You know, you moving upstate New York or North Carolina. People, you know, their life's paths take them in different. Not many people ever leave Portland with a bad taste in their mouth. I know that for a fact because I talk to almost every single person who leaves just to touch on and you know, have relationships with all of these people. It's nice to be your superintendent in a small district because I get to know everybody. You know, there's lots of backstories here. Some of them are, you know, difficult circumstances in life that people are processing. Some people need to be moving closer to family because of challenges in the family dynamics in their homes, or lots of times exciting opportunities, like in Michelle's case, she's an administrator in the Greenwich Public Schools, which, you know, something she worked really hard to earn her 092 and pursue that, and I know that she's going to be very successful there.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Just on the enrollment open choice slots, how are we doing?
Good. We are.
I can't hear that question.
The question was our open choice slots.
Open choice slots.
The number is 74 right now. So it's,
nice.
What did we budget? 60. So we're up to 74. We had 64 last year, so we're up about 10 students. And you're going to hear a little bit more about that when Stephanie gives her report. That number crystallizes for us again October 1. That's a very important date, but as of right now, it's 74. And there is still a third round of lottery going through, and we still have a couple of students that may join us and a couple that may not.
Right.
So It's on October 1 when I report that number. That's the big date because that's the date that has the fiscal implications.
That's wonderful to hear.
That is great.
It's great.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, so let me keep going. A few more.
Did you have a follow-up there?
Well, just a quick, I mean, if we put, is there a number with open choice that we won't go beyond, or is it just open to whoever? I thought there was a number at one
There
point
is,
that
yeah.
we-
Yep. Yeah, we increased our seats this year by about 10.
Right.
But in general, we prefer to start students younger.
Right.
Kindergarten, first, second grade, that's where we open more seats. You know, we'll open, I think we opened 10 in kindergarten this year. But as students leave us, we do open additional seats in the higher grades. But, you know, it's not, and you know, there's no, however many want to come. The number I think we capped it at, I have to go back and look at the seat declaration, but I think we opened 80 seats.
80?
I don't want to say that for sure. Why don't you let me check that? But
Sure.
we do a seat declaration form, and I think we
Right.
opened 80. And again, we opened the additional seats in response to the chef settlement, where
Right.
we were asked to expand those seats.
Right. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Charles.
I have a couple more things for you. So, Dylan, I'm going to start here by saying that with all the people that have resigned, I'm unbelievably delighted. That is an understatement with the quality of new teachers and professionals that we've brought in. I shared the resumes of everybody across the board, and
It's a
I
talented bunch.
hope you took a minute to look at the experience, the academic background, and the qualifications of these new educators that we have with our students. I've heard throughout the summer, of course, about the concerns about a teacher shortage, and of course was anxious that we wouldn't be getting as many high-quality applications based on, you know, what other districts may be experienced. That was not our experience at all this year. The pool was deep, and the quality of the people in the pool were remarkable. So what I want to show you here is a quick 5-minute video that maybe it's a little bit of hazing, I don't know, but we make the the new teachers do a new video to introduce themselves to the faculty.
Not hazing.
We
Let's not use that word, please.
Although, Dylan and I were laughing when our video we thought was the best. So it was the year of the eclipse, and we had the whole horoscope theme. But this one's pretty good.
That's
so
great.
it's a 5-minute video. You just get to see our new teachers and learn a little bit about them. That's in addition to their resumes and CVs that I included in your folder. I do want to ask Dylan if you'd be so kind to play this video. I think it's very clever.
We're ready to go.
Okay.
Good morning, Portland Public Schools, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Teacher Jeopardy. I'm your host, Alexei Abektre, legally distinct from Alex Trebek.
Because, ironically, Teacher Jeopardy is not an affiliate of ABC. The theme of tonight's show is Portland Public Schools' new hires. Our contestants have been mercilessly stalking the social media accounts of these incoming professionals in hopes of identifying them by only their home school and a handful of fun facts. Fortunately, these exuberant educators are bursting with personality and charm, so they should be easy to pick out of a crowd. Unfortunately, our contestants can be a little thick. That's why they need your help. For those of you following along at home, if you know the answer, feel free to shout it at the screen as loud as you can. If you're obnoxious enough, our contestants may just hear you. With that, let the game begin! First contestant, please step up and choose your category.
I'll take brownstone for 300, please.
This is a 6th grade teacher who loves hiking, musicals, and eats Cheetos with chopsticks to avoid orange-powdered fingers.
Who is Danielle Trays?
That is correct! Next contestant.
Portland Middle School for 200, please.
This person is the new cat-rescuing middle school reading interventionist who loves true crime and digging in the dirt without gloves.
Who is Carrie Opton?
Correct again! Next contestant.
I'll take Portland Middle for 300, please.
This person is a new 8th grade ELA teacher who loves reading, dogs, and the beach.
Who is Caroline Kennedy?
Correct again! Next contestant.
I'll take brownstone for 100, please.
This person was a competitive figure skater and is the new 6th grade math long-term sub.
Ooh, that's Charlotte Planetta.
Correct! Next contestant.
I'll take Brownstone for 200, please.
This person loves dancing, fitness, and outdoor activities.
Who is Amy Maldonado?
Correct! Next contestant.
I'll take Gildersleeve for 300, please.
This person is the new 4th grade special education teacher who horseback rides and obsessively watches Friends.
Who is Karen Stryker?
Karen Stryker is correct. Next contestant.
I'll take Gildersleeve for 200, please.
This person is a 4th grade teacher who enjoys reading and crafting.
Who is Stacy Ariza?
Correct. Next contestant.
Oh, I'll take Portland Middle School for 500, please.
This is a very high-energy, theatrical, and bubbly 7th grade science teacher. She loves all things nerdy.
Who is Melissa Starkowski?
Very good. Next contestant.
Alexei, I'll have to go with Gildersleeve for 100.
This is someone who can almost do a backflip and will be teaching 4th grade at Gildersleeve.
Who is Christian Decino?
Correct. Next contestant. I will take Portland Middle School for 400, please. This band director knows the lyrics to most of Billy Joel's discography and will sing them at you without your consent. That has to be, who is Jonathan Hilgendorf? Correct! All right, folks, it is time for Final Jeopardy! Please prepare your pens. The Final Jeopardy question is, collectively, this group has 102 years of teaching experience. Let's take a look at the answers. What? No one. Nobody knows. There's 9 of you. Well, folks of the audience, maybe you got it correct. The answer is, what is the 2022 new teacher cohort?
Hey, that's us!
Good job. That's pretty good.
That was very cute.
Yeah, they did a nice job, didn't they?
Yeah.
Very good.
So what you don't have in that group are all of the other people. I included the CV for our new administrator, our CV for our new school security guard, our new technician, and all of our new paraprofessionals. I hope you take a minute to look through those. They're a remarkable group of people. We're very lucky to have them. I can't say enough. Now, the interesting thing I just want to note, every single person who I interviewed, some were leaving long careers established in other districts to come here. And, almost exclusively, a lot of people, when I asked why do you want to come here, they reflected both on the positive reputation that Portland has, but one of the things that impressed me most was how many of the folks, paraprofessionals and others, who came here because they have friends or family members that work or live in the town and only hear such good things. And lots of these people weren't really looking, but when the posting came out, they were getting calls from people, some of whom were working here now, saying, "Hey, you got to check this out. This is a great opportunity to come here." I thought that was a pretty nice testament to the district and how nice a place it is. And I hope we impress them as much as they've impressed us, and I can't thank them enough for joining us and welcome them to the district.
That's wonderful. Charles, can I ask a quick question before we move on? Love hearing about all these new hires. We also just had a bunch of resignations, and I'm curious, where are we at with positions that haven't been filled yet?
Yep, so we are still in the process of hiring a new counselor at the high school, a new part-time math interventionist at the middle school, and that's it, right? a couple paraprofessionals pending tonight's discussion, and pending tonight's discussion, a teacher of English as a second language. So otherwise, all of our classroom positions are filled. The counselor we're anxious to fill. Certainly the math interventionist would be nice to fill, though that's part-time. The teacher of English as a second language is also one that's very, very high on our priorities.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, couple other quick updates. Just to give you, let you know, in terms of how the year went, well, if well begun is halfway done, we're there, right? I cannot thank all of the folks who worked so hard this summer. The leadership team did an amazing job. Tons of, obviously, interviewing that went through. Remarkable process to choose these folks that are with us. The new teacher orientation, convocation, all of the back-to-school things went really well. I'm incredibly impressed with the hard work that everybody did this summer to start us off on the right foot. So I can't thank everyone enough for all that they did this summer. In terms of transportation, I just need to give everybody an update. Last year, if you remember, we budget for 10 routes. We started with 6 last year, which was very stressful and made for a very complicated year. This year, we're at 9. So it's not the full 10, but 9 is pretty good. Things are going well. We have 9 buses running and 2 minibuses. Couple, of course, first week of school challenges to iron out. Not having a plethora of bus drivers is always complicated. I'd like to have more than we budget for, but it is what it is. But things are going far better than they were last year. I can promise you that. And just in terms of how I think we've got the year started off on the right foot. My mantra this year, and is what I started with the faculty, it is all about stability, right? Getting us back to normal, getting us back to a place where kids are being transported, having a great experience here when they get here, and then being transported successfully home every day without overcrowded buses or long routes, that we have ample substitute teachers, ample staffing, and I'm very optimistic. I think we're gonna get back to that place where we've all longed to be since March of 2020. I'm very happy, and I think we're off to a great start.
Excellent.
That's it.
Thanks. Any questions for Charles before we turn it over to Stephanie?
Should we go back and do the item we missed?
I was going to finish communications and updates. That's all right.
Oh, we missed it.
Yeah, I was very excited and just blasted
Yeah,
straight through that. So
okay.
we'll circle back if that's all right. Stephanie, business and financial affairs.
Hello, everyone. I apologize, I haven't been here in a couple of months, so it might be a little long. I'll break it up into 2 pieces because I do have the end of last year to just talk about how that ended, and then just how we started off this year. So hopefully you all read my memo for the 21-22 school year. I'm not going to reread the whole thing, but I just wanted to point out a few things and just elaborate on a few things, and then I'll take any questions. So where I talked about purchase services, running a surplus due to not as many outsourced IT hours, as well as not making a food service transfer. I know we budget for a food service transfer every year. However, this year was special because we got so much federal funding from COVID. Our food service account is kind of bursting at the seams, to the point where I was able to purchase a new steamer for the high school, and I still have to spend, because with the state, you can only run 3 months of your operating income. We're over by like $79,000. So I'm gonna be purchasing a new serving line for Brownstone and most likely Valley View, depending on how much I have left. To get that, because I have to, when I report to the state, in the middle of September, I have to give why my variance is over and what I'm going to do to bring it back down. So that's why we like to do one, but because of the funding, we didn't need to this year. And then we also are starting the year with additional funds that we're going to use up until, we're hoping maybe the first 5 months. So we may be in the same boat next year, but we always budget to do that transfer just in case. It just worked out this year, or last year, to our benefit. And even with the transportation, running the 6 to 8 buses, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't great. But if that didn't happen, we would have been having a way different conversation. Because we ended the year with 9,000, which is typical, which is a lot, 9,473.56, which is decent for us, but we wouldn't have been anywhere near that if we were running full buses. So that's really all. Oh, I wanted to say, I know we were talking about the electrician and the purchase services. After the analysis, we paid the purchase services $46,830, as opposed to an electrician we budgeted is $86,000 plus benefits. So we did come to the conclusion that there is savings. So we're going to continue doing that. I believe we will have to go out to bid for it, just to make it official, but we wanted to try it out for the first year, see how it did, and it did make a significant difference with the need and, you know, the needs that we had. So that's all I really had to elaborate on for last year. If anybody has any questions that they see or want any more information on, I know all these accounts inside and out, so I can tell you everything probably.
Other questions for Stephanie?
No?
Can I ask one quick question, Stephanie? Sure. In looking at this current year's document, I realized I don't understand the difference between year-to-date pre-encumbered versus year-to-date encumbered. What is the pre-encumbered?
Pre-encumbered is basically if it's sitting with myself, Charles, or the town. Once it's fully approved and dispatched and mailed out, that's when it goes to encumbered.
Okay.
So that line there are all the ones that have been pushed out already.
Okay,
and
so
then
it's in process.
In process, yes.
Got it. Thank you for that.
So any questions on 21, 22? No? Nothing? All right, 22, 23. This is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough year. Although I said that last year and we did okay.
That worked out.
What is in the packet is through September. You know, it still looks like we're doing okay. But, you know, after some conversations that will be had after, it may take a different turn. But just knowing, so I do projections every year, or every month, basically. It's September. You know, I have my document here. It's not even worth sharing at this point because it's 5 days of school in. I don't know the diesel costs. I don't know what a lot of things are. Just if I sat here and took every single account and said, okay, we're going to spend every single dollar that we have left, you know, in the accounts that are budgeted, and knowing what's left for special ed, we're negative, but it's negative 80,000. It's not terrible. We have a lot of wiggle room. You know, we're doing a soft freeze right now. We did get, as Charles said, the extra open choice students. So on top of getting 14 additional students, we also get $2,000 extra per student. So my open choice number that I have to work with that isn't already accounted for in the budget that we started with at 60, I have $205,000 that I have to work with. So that will help in some of the conversations that we'll have next. But then there's other things in there that we can't use open choice funds for, and we can't use excess cost for. So it'll be tough to tell right now where we're going to be. But you know, I'm going to try my hardest. If we have to implement more of a freeze, we will, because we have some wiggle room in the schools, in some of the departments. But there's just some that we can't. Special ed, we can't control. Transportation, we're down a bus. If we get that one bus back, that number is going to go up. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, it's September 6th. Probably maybe October, November, I can have a better idea, but it's manageable right now. That's all really. I mean, if anybody has any questions about any of the accounts, like I said, it's still very early. I do know which ones are over right now, just from personnel-wise.
Can I just repeat back, make sure I heard you correctly? There's $205,000 from open choice funds that were not accounted for in the budget document.
Correct.
Great.
So then we can find other things to spend that money to. Yeah.
And that's why October 1st.
Key.
That's today.
And then it's probably will go up a little bit too, because we get additional funds for how many kindergarten students we get. I think we get an extra 4,500. And then if we have more than 10 students in a grade, we get extra funding for that. So those little pieces come in throughout the year.
Okay. Thank you.
And I will at some point, but maybe next month, I I think I did it last year, but it's the funding source document, you know, to show how much ESSER funds we spent, you know, last year and how much we have remaining. Because we also have to remember, we still have probably $600,000 of ESSER 3 funds available. Some of it is accounted for summer learning programs and the social worker, but we, you know, we kind of have that set aside as well.
And just to remind you about the ESSER funds, that 600,000, that again, that's right now earmarked for the summer learning programs, a school counselor, and what we paid the architect came in less than we had budgeted for. So that money's there. And if you remember, back in the budget season last year, I asked everybody, please, let's leave that there. And I said, let's leave it there because, yeah, hey, we weren't sure if we were coming out of a pandemic. We didn't know what we were doing. And I thought it was wise for us to not, you know, earmark that money or build a cliff in the budget, to just leave it there, right? But it's there, and, you know, just to remind everybody, we have this year and next year to spend it. So, you know, when Stephanie, and rightfully so, starts to talk about deficits, and, you know, we may be building even more of one, depending on how the conversation goes after Dawn's report and when we get to new business, it's there. And it's certainly something that we could be looking towards this year if we find ourselves in a position where it's now 80,000, if that goes higher, to fill in and help with what might be a deficit this year.
Any other questions?
I did have a question, and I don't know how to phrase this. I don't know if you're doing any kind of analysis. We brought this up once before when all the money started flowing in, that there is a cliff down the road. And tonight we're going to talk about hiring more people with it. Enrollment has been declining or stagnant for many years, and we're getting lots of grant money. And I'd like to put those three things together in some kind of an analysis over 2 or 3 years of, okay, how much grant money is paying for how many positions, and if all of a sudden we had years we're going to get lean grant money, which is probably coming up in the next 2 years, then where are we going to be? And I want to make sure there's no surprises.
When I do the funding source, I can put the positions. So I will say the cliff that we had, I closed the cliff as far as licenses, supplies, all that, all those things. The positions, I have not, you know, because remember, we get a 2.5% budget increase every year. There's only so much you can do with 2.5%. Right. So I don't know if that's for a bigger conversation when it comes budget time, because not next year, but definitely the year after, there's going to be a social worker position, you know, the SIG grant, 2 positions in there. You know, there's, and like I said, when I'll do the funding source and I'll say what positions are in there, because that's really all that's left is positions.
But let's be clear.
I could keep me up at night just thinking about all the positions we've been adding.
But Dave, hold on a second, because the positions you're talking about that are grant funded are all very clearly marked as grant funded. They were advertised that way. They've been filled that way. I think at the end of the grant funding, the conversation then is this a need that we continue to have, or has this resolved the need, right? Yeah. So I don't see that as a cliff so much as we've been filling a gap with student, you know, that we have in student needs now. Do we need that in 2 years? Who knows?
You don't know that. We may have gotten into this cycle where it's a need and now we don't have the money, and then after we go for 5, 6, 7, 8% budget increase, and we don't have it.
That will happen.
I know.
Over time. Yeah, I mean, I understand. I mean, I share a sentiment that the notion is that, you know, these are extra and they're special and we need them to rebuild the loss that we have. But on the horizon, we do need to expect that we will be shedding some of those. So we will not have the money to continue all of those in perpetuity. Yeah, so it's just, I think having the records you're talking about is exactly what we need. We used to have something like that in the budget planning document. There was a little list of all the grants and what they funded.
Mm-hmm. It was in the budget book this year.
It's in the budget.
Yeah, and it was a pretty central piece of the budget presentation that I did. What laid out all the grant funding, and I think what you'll see in this year's budget presentation is some of that sunsetting of ESSER and SIG grant funds. Those are the 2 big ones, right? I mean, what we're talking about is ESSER, but except for a social worker, we're okay there, right? And the big one, of course, is SIG grant, which you're going to hear about tonight. But the folks that are here as part of the SIG grant know that you're here as part of a grant-funded position, and that as that grant sunsets, those positions too. And, I think, the point that, yes, we have these funds now to be used to fill in gaps that exist now. Hopefully we fill in those gaps and then won't need those positions as we recover. And I think what you're going to hear from Ryan shortly and in future presentations is we've done a really exemplary job of recovering at Gildersley, right, because of this. Right? And now we just got to get back to this place of stability and then start making decisions. Now, the decisions may be ask the town to fund the positions, which might be a 5-6% increase, or not have the positions. Right? But those are the realities that we're going to confront over the coming years.
And that'll be based on where we're at as a district in 2 years' time versus where we are right now, which is, to me that feels like we can't talk about what we need in 2 years necessarily.
That's true, but we can prepare. I mean, that's the problem of this, the way this town operates. You go year to year to year. You never think beyond 1 year. And all of a sudden oh my God, here's where we are. We knew about that 3 years ago, but we never did anything about it.
Oh, trust me, I think about it every day.
Well, we had built I think it was 200,000+ cliff in, was it 2 years ago budget?
Yeah.
We had used one-time money, so that still hasn't come home to roost either. I mean, that's all kind of in there.
I think we've definitely, Stephanie's done an amazing job scaling some cliffs, that we have. And the other thing, David, is I would look to even the school facilities committee work that we're doing as that sort of long-range look at what may be happening over the next 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years, and how, if we do our work well, we begin to address some of the needs in the facilities, which may then translate into the needs of the staffing in the classroom and the support level. So I think we're looking ahead too. I agree with you that we always, in this business, we always do year to year, right? And we always, what do we need now? And then, we'll figure out what we need later, right? And that's fair criticism, I think, of how you do budgets in the public sector it's not really a long-range budget. But I think the work of our facility study committee may be backdooring us into that. Yes.
Thank you, Stephanie. Sorry, Meg, were you about to ask a question?
No, I just wanted to say that I think we knew that we were not going to take all the money and start spending it on positions without making sure that they were either terminated at the point where the grant ends, and we knew that some districts have taken the money and hired a lot of people, and we don't want to lay off. So I think we knew that going forward. I think that's been a careful conversation within this board, for sure.
I would agree with that.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Welcome.
We are next going to hear from Dawn, Director of Student Services. Good evening, Dawn. We haven't seen you in person in quite a while.
No. Last time I spoke with a lot of you, I was on vacation, like in a far away place. So it's exciting to be back. I'm just going to give you a quick update on things going on in the department, and especially a couple of things that I know Charles is going to talk about in action items afterwards. But I just wanted to give you a quick update on the state of affairs in student services. Staffing is a big thing, and we've been living at large in student services since the end of July. We did have several last-minute resignations, one of which I knew was coming along, which was Nancy Bakos, the administrative assistant. We have had some discussion with the personnel committee around that in the beginning of August. I'm happy to report we have a wonderful new administrative assistant in our office. I do have to tell you, she makes me feel incredibly old because she's the same age as my kids. But boy, she's on top of it with technology. She's trained as a teacher, but she has jumped into this role with both feet. She's doing a beautiful job. Her name is Olivia, so when you come in to visit Charles or see Meg, make sure you say hello. She's got her desk right where Nancy was. Nancy has moved on. Originally she was going to go to Brownstone, but she's moved on, and I think she's headed to South Carolina or North Carolina, in that direction, to a new exciting chapter of her life. So having that in place was really important to us. Having somebody that's able to be my right hand, especially as we moved into the world of CT SEDS and our new platform, our new IEP system, and all of that it's wonderful to have somebody on board. And you would have thought she'd been training with me all summer, the way she's picked up with it, so. That's really exciting. As Charles spoke about, we lost 4 teachers this year, special ed teachers. We have replaced all 4 of those teachers. However, we're waiting for some of them. They're working out their final days in their previous districts, so they'll be joining us throughout the upcoming weeks in September. I really want to give a shout out to Mike Searson and his team at Brownstone, because that's where the biggest hit took place. And in that place, they have just done a beautiful job of rallying around the kids and the needs. It's also, if you remember, that's where our bridge program is based. So there's a lot of need in that building. We had quite a few, what I call those front door surprises the first day of school. Students showing up that we didn't know about that had substantial IEPs, substantial needs, and just kind of showed up, registered, and said, oh, by the way, here's my child's IEP, and we didn't even know they had any services. So Mike and his team have done a beautiful job, and they're doing a lot with a little. So not that the other schools aren't doing a great job as well, but that's just building that back hard. In addition, we have a school psychologist that left us. She's gone on to retirement and something more that's fitting in her lifestyle desire right now. So we'll miss Lisa Ventrelli, but we have a new school psychologist that's joining us. And I'm really excited about what this woman brings to the table, because she's really excited about embracing our social emotional learning and therapeutic models across the district. So we're excited for her. We do have, and we're going to talk a little later about the occupational therapist contract, our occupational therapist. And I'm going to call her out a little bit because she's sitting in the back of the room. Karen Reinhart has worked with our district for 16 years as an occupational therapist. She has watched a whole generation of kids grow up and move on, and she is now taking time to move on and pursue some passions that she wants to do. So she has, she's here as a resource if we need her, but she's really got some great plans moving forward. I apologize for talking like you're not in the room, Karen, but thank you so much. So we're excited about her next chapter, but we do have to plan for the next chapter in Portland, so we'll talk about that in just a minute. And then the last one that is also on the agenda tonight is our TESOL teacher. We had Lizette Restrepo, has been with us for a couple of years. If you remember, she took the place. She took the place of a teacher that was out on maternity leave. She joined us, very excited about the part-time position because she had a little one at home herself, but then decided during the summer that she wanted to move on to a full-time, a 1.0 position, and went to work in New Haven. So we will miss her. She was an excellent teacher. She did a beautiful job with our kids. I received an email from one of our, what we call the new arrivals, the students that come and they're not speaking any English. And we have a student that's at the high school, and he went and spoke with one of the Spanish teachers because she's been helping him. She does some tutoring with him after school, and he just was brokenhearted that she was going. He says, I was looking forward to working with her 5 days a week instead of just 3. So, she made an impact on Portland, and we will miss her. But we also know that we need to fill with more than just a 0.5 position. Our English as a second language population has grown by leaps and bounds. And then we have a whole slew of paras that have moved on. I've been talking about this for years. Our para educators, for a lot of them, this is a stopping point for them. They're moving on to other things in their career. Some went back to school, some moved out of town, some went on to a responsibility with more, or onto a position with more responsibility, more autonomy, and things like that. So, and Laurel, I heard you ask, do we have a conversation with our paras as they leave? By all means, because I take from that, if somebody's leaving because they're frustrated or they feel ineffective, we want to know about that because that helps drive our planning, our professional development, and our movement, and especially in our special programming here in district. So, but I'm ecstatic about the group that we've been able to hire and attract. We're still filling last few positions, and Ryan and I just met with a wonderful candidate this afternoon, and we're going to talk about that again. So that's the state of affairs with our staffing. It's exciting. It's exhausting. I sit back and I think of the whirlwind that we did of interviews and reference checks and screaming out to Charles to please come in and interview this teacher so we can get him on board and get him to sign before somebody else signs them and things like that. So it's been a busy 6-8 weeks, and we're excited to have all these folks in place. CT SEDS is up and running. I've been talking about that for a while now. We have, with you guys, it was a whole year of preparation. We have 7 wonderful, what we call CT SEDS experts. These are special ed teachers and staff members in the district that went and took on some extra training, and they're now the colleagues on call with the rest of the team. So as of July 1st, we stopped using Frontline IEP and we moved into CT SEDS as was mandated by the state, and we're writing IEPs, we're writing 504 plans, everything's in place, the restraint and seclusion, all of those details that we have to report and have up front with the state are now in place with CT SEDS. It's not a seamless movement, but I think we're I think talking with my colleagues at the state, we're in a good place. We've got it rolled out, people are navigating and moving through it, most people are not pulling their hair out, and I think I'm watching the anxiety level go down every day with our staff, and I can't wait to get feedback from parents to see how they are feeling about the new platform, the new IEP, and what that looks like. So that's taken up a lot of my time and energy in the last couple of weeks, just really making sure that we're in a good place to go, and it's wonderful to have the staff behind us that we have. I met with 504 case managers this morning, and we did a deep dive in, and they all left very comfortable and very excited about the new chapter. So that's where we are. There's a couple of things that I still need to collect some more data on that I know you guys have asked for, but just given the fact that we're still intaking students for open choice and we're aiming toward that October 1, the deep dive on our EL students, how many are Hartford, how many are Portland, I don't have that exact number yet. As soon as I have that all meshed out, I'll send it. I won't wait for the next board meeting. I'll send it out to Charles, and he can disseminate that to all of you. Like I said, we have 44 students prior to the end of the school year. Our students on the Lost Links did not do wonderfully. We did not have a lot of exit. And a good frustration I know that Lizette and I both had was there's so much of her time is taken up with it when it's a half-time position. A lot of her time from January until the end of the year is taken up with the Lost Links testing. She's the one that administers that. So and most students, when you think about it, they're sitting down to take a standardized test that's going to mandate whether they stay in an EL position or not. And, so they're taking it one-on-one with the EL teacher or the TESOL teacher. So we are really, that takes up a good part of her time. So she was really frustrated with the progress that the students made. And that we only had one student that was able to exit. Everybody else still stayed within the qualifications of being an EL teacher. So that is definitely, I stand by that recommendation. We do get some funding for EL support, and we do have a small Title III grant. So we, of course, will apply for that again this year. And we have the leftover from last year, but it's a small amount. It's about $6,000. So it helps buy resources like materials that the TESOL teacher needs, and then it goes towards that person's salary. We have a candidate pool. We'll start interviewing after tonight's meeting. Most of the candidates are very experienced, but I'm also watching for some new teachers as well. We're looking very closely at the pool. But we have a candidate pool right now of 9 teachers to choose from. But the big question they want to know is what's going to happen with our, is it full-time or is it part-time? Right. So that's the state of affairs. And then as far as Harrah's, I told you we had some big surprises. We had 4 students come to our doorstep within the first day of school that had IEPs that we didn't even know about. And one student is probably going to be outplaced because her level of need is so significant. I'm talking with schools like Oak Hill because she could be a candidate for the Oak Hill program that's housed in our Brownstone school. And then I'm talking with schools like River Street and Freck and like that. But despite all the great program that we've built in the district, that specialized program, the ABA Lab, RISE, Bridges, and Harbor, this student just presents such a need that we won't be able to serve that need here. Now, the other 3 students are very manageable. They're going to fit right into our population and our special population, but there is some support that's required for that, and that is going to include some extra para support. Some of those students come from Hartford, and the nice thing, remember please, about Hartford students is we're responsible, as an open choice district, we're responsible for their regular education needs. So we're responsible to make sure that they have a room to learn in and teachers to learn from in the general curriculum. But then Hartford, as a children's nexus, still supports us with the special ed costs. So we do work with Hartford closely. Stephanie, and in the past Nancy, but up and coming will be Olivia. We'll work together and be able to bill back to Hartford the special ed cost and get that reimbursed. We have a small threshold that we have to meet, and then from there, Hartford does reimburse that. So a lot of that comes back for our Hartford students. But as the dust settles, I'll have a more defined figure for that as far as who is Hartford and who is Portland. But I will tell you, both between the EL population and the special ed population, it's really down the middle. And when I talk with parents about why did you come to Portland, what drew you, and it's along what Dr. Britton said about they've heard about programming, they've heard about what's going on in town, they've heard that their kids have a really good shot, and so that's along the line of let's build it and they will come, but at the same time it's costing. So I hear the frustration that our census is dropping, or staying stagnant, but at the same time our special needs population is struggling. So that's why the request for some additional paras. These are all new things that have come up. These are not things that we, ignored and hoped would get better. These were things that came to us during the months of July and August. We're also, we have 4 students in our transition programming in-house, and of those 4 students, 2 of them, it's really exciting, they're actually working, their educational studies are in the community versus being based in the high school. If you know anything about transitional programming, it should not be just a continuation of high school. It's not another 4 years of high school till they turn 22. The idea is to have that programming be individualized, based in a community setting, and helping them get ready for things like being able to manage a checkbook. Well, not checkbooks, they don't use those anymore, but manage a debit card, manage their finances, know how to get a library card, or go to the police station if they have a car accident and things like that. So for a couple of our students are spending 3 days a week actually right here in this building, downstairs with Jesse Rivicki in the youth services room. And they have a we call it their satellite office. But that's one of those other requests for a para, because we do need a job coach person that can be with them while they're in the community, both on their job sites and also while they're navigating the community. They rode the public transportation to get from the high school to get down here, and they're becoming quite fluent in all of those things. So it's exciting, because the other alternative then is, if we couldn't do that, is to send them to a place like the Middlesex Transition Academy, which is expensive, and it's not in their community. They need to learn how to navigate Portland, and they don't need to navigate around Hartford or around Middletown. The idea is to keep them here. So it's a small population, it's a fledgling population, but they are just a great group of kids. About to so that's the, and then one last thing I just want to address, because Dave, you brought up a good point about the issues around our cliff that we're all talking about, and our focus this year is stability, getting us back to a really good basis for everything, especially around the social, emotional, and mental health. And the idea is that we beefed up that mental health servicing, both with curriculum, with surveys and things to gauge where the kids are, but also that individualized work. And we're hoping, the idea is if we can help our community heal, our community being the school community, from everything that COVID and shutdown did to us, that we'll be able to come back, be stronger, and be able to phase out some of those heavier supports. So it's a topic of conversation between Charles and Stephanie and I on a regular basis around some of those staffing pieces that we put in there. Okay.
Occupational therapist.
Occupational therapist, yes, thank you. So We have been working with Cheshire Fitness for almost 3 years now. They've done a nice job with helping us when we had to cover maternity leaves. Our speech pathologists like to have babies, so they go out on leave. It's really hard to find a speech pathologist. And then last year, when our part-time contractor physical therapist, resigned and moved on to her next chapter in life, I started working with Cheshire Fitness. We looked at the finances of what it would take to hire somebody, and even for part-time, still have to pay the benefits and all of the pieces that come along with a part-time employee. And it just worked out better to have, the beauty of using a place like Cheshire Fitness is they have people on the ready to go. So when we need to put somebody in school to work with the student, they're sending in highly qualified folks in. Because we don't always have that benefit like we had of a Karen Reinhardt that's in our community. When our speech pathologist last year went on maternity leave, and we couldn't find anybody. I had no applicants of any credibility that applied. So we wound up going without, and then we wound up having Cheshire Fitness come in and fill that void over the last couple of weeks of school and over the summer. And they're still continuing to help us with speech and language over, we have some compensatory services that we missed out on last year because we didn't have a speech pathologist for that period of time. So I started the conversation after I met with our exiting occupational therapist. I started the conversation about contracting with them for the occupational therapy services required in our school. And our exiting occupational therapist did a beautiful job with case records, and she gave us everybody's needs as far as both service hours, evaluations that were needed to be done. And folks at Cheshire Fitness did an analysis, and they just got back to us today talking about a plan that they could recommend. So there was a letter in a memo in Charles's packet that spoke to that, but that was before we had a really good conversation with the owner of Cheshire Fitness and what they could do for us. And the package that he's presenting, his name is Craig Goldstein. The package he's presenting is a combination of occupational therapists, but also some of the services can be done by a certified occupational therapist aide. This is somebody that's highly trained, not to the level that an occupational therapist is because they're licensed, but they are trained to a higher level than a paraeducator or somebody off the street, and they work under the licensure of the occupational therapist. So he looked at some of the files and said some of these things could be handled by what they call CODA, a certified occupational therapist aide, and working in partnership with the occupational therapist. So he's presented a package that's worth exploring at this point in order to move forward to, try it for a year, see how it works. It's comparable to what we were going to do, what we had budgeted, so it's not a tremendous jump, but at the same time it affords us the opportunity to have them provide that service for us and us not have to worry about trying to find somebody part-time. Occupational therapists are in high demand, just like physical therapists and speech paths are. They're in high demand, and trying to find somebody that's only going to come in for a few hours a day or 2 or 3 days a week versus a 5-hour-a-week job is really hard to do. So our recommendation or our plan right now is to continue to pursue that with Cheshire Fitness, exploring how that goes, and then discuss it again as we come up to building the budget for the next fiscal year. All right.
That was a lot. Thank you, Dawn.
I apologize. It's a lot of verbiage. It's and as we wrap up, October 1, you'll get this more in a concrete report. But this is more just a state of affairs.
So I imagine there'll be a chance for us to ask more specifics around each of these line items as we move into new business. But are there any general questions about where we're at right now for Dawn?
I don't know if this is a question for the specific package, but I noticed a couple of them talk about open choice funding to fund it. Does that, when you reference it a little bit, do we get additional funding, or is this where funding, in fact, we're taking in additional students, we're allocating that now to this, we're really not getting ahead, so to speak, lack of a better word, but it's just
Would be additional
So
funding.
absorbing more costs for more students.
No, we bill Hartford for the special services.
Okay.
And it's totally separate from the money we receive from them.
I thought I heard.
We just have to cover, because they give us $10,000, we just have to cover the $10,000 because we can't double dip. So we deduct 10,000 and then they pay the difference.
Anything else for the moment?
Thank you.
Thank you very
John.
much. And I'll be sticking around while we go over those memos as well. So.
Great,
I
appreciate
do
it.
have one quick question. I don't know if you wrote this memo or Charles did, but it said, between January 1st and present, board authorized 6 additional paraprofessionals, 1 Braille specialist. We now need 6 additional paraprofessionals to support identified students. I got that. Then down below, it says these additional 13 professionals. I don't know where the math is. Is that the total?
6
We already
plus
got
the
6.
Braille specialist.
We had already identified, but now you're saying we need 13.
Plus the Braille specialist that's referenced
I
there
know.
as well.
So
It
6
says-
from the winter.
The board authorized 6 already, but she's saying we need 13.
We need an additional 6.
Pardon?
We need 6 more.
But we already authorized 6.
Correct.
So we don't need 13 more.
I
Okay?
think
Right.
he's just saying
Right.
13 beyond what was budgeted for.
Yeah.
Somebody had asked that at the last meeting because or maybe it was the
It was during our
meeting.
personnel meeting.
Because we had talked about the idea of, okay, Don comes in and does a spiel here and we ask for more money. Don comes in and does a spiel here and we ask for more money. What does it look like collectively from
Right.
the time we formed the budget to now? What's the whole big picture?
Yeah, we know that sometimes you get it in piecemeal. We wanted to give you the whole picture. So it's assuming things go the way we hope tonight, right? It will be 13 total, made up of 6 plus a Braille specialist that were authorized since last winter, and then the additional ones that you authorized last meeting, and now additional ones based on new and emerging students who have arrived in their.
So it's just a total.
Total.
It's a sum, yeah. Exactly.
I thought, but I didn't want to
No,
be
it's a
sure.
good question.
It's a good question, yeah, because it all adds up
Yep.
together, right? I mean, so, yes.
Okay, thank you, Don.
Thank you, guys.
So just so, we reached the end of the communications and update section, so I'm gonna ask that we pause here, back up to deal with the approval of the consent agenda, which I, in my moving of items around on the agenda, absolutely just missed that, and I apologize. So if it's all right, everybody, can we hop back to approve the consent agenda, because I wanna make sure we get this field trip approved.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Meg. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lauren. Are there any questions or discussion around the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the meeting minutes from August 9th, as well as the out-of-state field trip? No discussion?
I apologize.
Yep.
We're going back to approve the previous agenda from August 9th, is that?
We're approving the minutes from August 9th under the consent agenda.
Okay.
Everybody okay with that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Sounds like it's unanimous. Thank you for that, and apologies for my confusion. We can now head back down to our new business.
Are we going to do the field trip then as well? Or?
That was all part of the
Oh,
consent
oh,
agenda.
oh,
Yeah, the whole shebang. So under new business, item A, Gildersleeve School Interventionist, 1-year grant-funded position.
I'll talk to him about that, and Ryan's here if you have any questions, he can give you some of the specifics, but. Yeah, I know. So, we, for year 2 now, have received $370,000 SIG grant, school improvement grant, and we have that money to spend. Ryan's done an amazing job with last year's allocation and wants to continue that work this year. I can't say enough about how much work he and Eric have done to both write the grant and impress upon the state how we're going to use the funds. We've heard from the state how pleased they are with the work that Ryan's done, and shortly the curriculum committee is going to meet, and we're going to share with you some of our student performance data that reflects that outstanding work. So Ryan, Stephanie, and I met, and Eric met, and we talked about how we'd like to continue to spend these funds, and we'd like to add a 1-year only grant-funded interventionist. And that's how it would be posted, because We would only guarantee that position for this 1 year, so anybody coming into it would know that this is a 1-year commitment. The funding source would be a function of that SIG grant. If you had any questions about how we're using that or the nature of the position, Ryan's here to answer those questions, or I could answer them as well.
Is there a time limit on the money we use, or is it 1 year?
We believe it's a 3-year grant. We'll know more. We had it last year. We have it this year. We believe we're going to have it next year. The problem is that Ryan's done such an amazing job. We're not a focus school. Going to be a focus school.
We still are. We'll know in January.
Right. So.
Yeah, we'll be reevaluated in January as to whether or not we're continuing to do it.
But can I just interject here? I believe you were asking about the $370,000,
Yes.
and that amount of money, am I
That's
correct,
1
needs
year.
to be used this year.
Correct.
That doesn't carry over, correct, Ryan?
It does not. You actually have a little over 12 months. So initially we thought we only had 12 months. However, I'm finalizing the grant for year 2 right now, and those funds will be released. And we're actually starting to spend some of that funding already because it's guaranteed for this upcoming year. But you do have, there's a little bit of flexibility in that. Generally though, when we applied for the grant, it's up to 4 years. That could change again if we are no longer designated a focus school after January. But as of right now, we'll have funding for at least 2 years. And they said for this year, we received $470,000 last year, and they said they expect within 10,000 more or less of that. One of the things you alluded to this, Charles, said is sort of surprising, and my spending, stepping that together, my staff, we found lots of things to spend that money on. But one of the things the state was happiest about was that we spent all of that money, and especially that we spent money on in the category of talent, which was an additional reading specialist.
Ryan, would you just come to the podium for us? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you in your flow, but I realized I don't think Kim can probably hear you very well.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Our audience at home.
I did turn on this mic for that.
Oh, thank you. But this is better anyways. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, so the state was pleased because a lot of those funds that we received were spent in the talent category. One was an additional reading and math specialist combined position last year, and one funded an additional special education teacher. So the state was really happy about that. And I was encouraged to create the grant, the application for the grant this year, with that same amount or more, just because, and as Charles said, the narrative that our data, especially Smarter Balance, the state testing showed, is significant improvement from 2017-18 to 21-22.
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
about the role of these interventionists?
Mm-hmm.
Are they, in addition to providing direct support to students who need support,
Mm-hmm.
are they also providing some supports to our teachers around instruction so that, back to Dave's earlier point about will we need these positions forever?
Right,
At some point, the money for them runs out. Hopefully, they're
Yeah.
providing supports to our teachers so that they move forward with those skills.
That's a great question. So yes, right now we have a reading specialist, a math specialist. Those are 2 positions that are funded, by our local, board in that. And then the additional position that we add is reading and math specialist. All 3 of the people in those positions spend about half of their time coaching teachers or facilitating small group instruction in the classrooms, and then the other half of the time with small group instruction.
Are there other questions for Ryan about the use of these funds? All right, thank you, Ryan. So unless there's further need for knowledge, is there a motion?
I can make a motion that we go ahead and get the Gildersleeve interventionist as presented by Ryan Wallstrom tonight, using the grant funds.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Lauren. Is everyone clear on that motion? Any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Sounds like it was unanimous. Thank you.
Let's move on to increasing the TESOL support.
Okay, so as you heard from Dawn tonight, even with 44 students, our .5 TESOL teacher was just barely meeting those needs, and we do have an increase. The last number I heard from Dawn was 55, but she's going to give us a more hard and fast number certainly by October 1st. But there is definitely a need. Now, our recommendation is that we ask you to consider allowing us to increase that teacher of English as a second language from .5 to 1.0. This is going to be funded out of our open choice attendance grant. So this one isn't going to have an enormous impact on the budget. Stephanie's here to answer any questions that you have about that grant funding source. But we certainly have a need and would love to be able to support our students K-12 with a full-time teacher of English as a second language.
So that 205,000 I had said that's left over, this would go into that.
Okay. The funding for the additional .5 FTE.
Yeah, but there's already .5 in the
budget.
yeah.
Got it. Are there further questions about that position? No? All right, is there a motion to recommend that the board increase the teacher of English as a second language position from .5 FTE to 1.0 FTE?
So moved.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Meg. Any further discussion?
The only thing a comment I was going to make is that it's too bad we didn't be fortuitous enough to want a full-time because we lost such a great person that wanted to be full-time. So how can we get ahead of that in the future?
What I will say is that we discussed that
Yes.
during our personnel meeting, and Dawn reminded us that Lizette had come to Portland wanting the .5 position, and when she'd had this discussion with her earlier during budget season, at that point Lizette still wanted the .5 position, and so she wasn't.
It wasn't like she was, banging on the door saying, "I need full time." It was also the district that she came from. When she came to us is where she returned to. And there's a passion there as well. But yeah, it's a big loss for Portland all the way around.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Good fair point.
All right. Anything else? Then all in favor? Aye. Aye. All right, that's unanimous. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Item C, additional paraprofessional staffing for the 2022-2023 school year.
Okay, so this could be a little confusing, and I think Dave cleared up the confusion. We're giving you the total number of paraprofessionals. Just so you know, in the LEA budget that was authorized by the voters in the spring, there was 44 positions, right? Between what the board has already added and the additional paraprofessionals that we're asking for tonight, we would be going up to 57. So that's an increase of 13 students. Now, as Dawn mentioned tonight, all of these are new and emerging needs that we've had since last January when we started adding these. All of these positions are included as part of students' individualized education plans, which we're obligated to follow to support our students. So what we are asking for tonight is these additional 6 paraprofessionals to help support our students who, in some cases, literally showed up on our doorstep day one.
I'm a numbers guy, that's what I do for a living. I can't believe a 30% increase in 1 year. I just can't get my head around it. I can't. I just don't. And we didn't increase our enrollment at all.
It's the number. None of these positions are for paras are classroom aides or general help in schools. All of these are assigned to an individual student as part of that student's plan developed at PPTs, either in district or students that are coming to us with IEPs that were developed in other districts, which, until we change, we're obligated to follow. That's correct, right, Dawn?
Yes, but if I could also add, for probably, I can count 8 different students right now, between students that came to us in the spring and students that have come to us over the summer and as recently as last week. 8 different students that we can't program for them in the district, in specialized programming with para-educators to support their needs. And these needs are for health and safety and development. They're not, it's not just tutoring type of thing. If we can't support that way, we're
it's also to Dawn's point, we've built these programs. We've built Bridge and Harbor and
Right.
Enhanced ABA and Enhanced RISE. You know, we built these programs for knowing this was gonna happen, right? Now, at some point, and I know I don't want to throw another thing on Dawn's plate, but she should give the board a cost-benefit analysis of these programs versus what we would be spending in tuition and outplacement costs if they weren't here. And I think the difference would be shocking. Now, Dave, to your point, is a 30% increase in our special education population, in my mind, that large? I don't think it is. I think it's a reflection of, one, our ability to support these students in district. That's part of it. But yes, we also had some surprises this summer. And part of special education is, you know, Dawn will sometimes pop into my office and say, hey, a student's moved out, or we brought a student back from outplacement, and that may still happen. But in this case, the wheels spun the other way, right? And you know, and I gotta say, I see these students and I interact with them every day, and we're blessed to have them. And I'm very happy that they're here with us and not someone else's. And I think that I speak for the entire faculty and staff when I say that.
Just clarify something for me. It says here that we will have an unfunded salary obligation of $253,620. And above it says there are 3 of these positions are funded through the Hartford Board of Education. Is that, so is the $253,620 after we get the funding from the Hartford Board of Education?
I think that's a good question for Stephanie.
I have to do the math.
Okay,
Hold
sorry.
on. Hold on. I think that's after, because it's a para's 24. Para's like 24, 53. So if there was 13, if we take away 3 Hartford, that's 10. 241,000. Yeah, so that's.
It's about 253,620.
Yeah, so that's. So you'd have to add in 3 more. Would be the total cost, but 3 of them are covered, are paid for.
And I guess the only thing I would say is that one student being outplaced could cost $253,000, and so this would be, this is a no-brainer, basically. I'd be happy to make a motion to hire 6 more paraprofessionals required by IEPs and special needs students in the district.
And I would be happy to second that.
Thank you, Kim. Is there any further discussion?
And the question is, of the 44 that we have, is there any opportunity that, because it's been not a stagnant, but that's been a growing number as well. Is there any allocation opportunities that someone was needed 2 years ago, and now they might not be as needed, and there could be some opportunity to move around, but nobody's really broached that.
Dawn, do you want to address how you move staff around to fill needs?
Sure.
Do you mind coming to the podium? So sorry about that. Thank you. I know. Pass the mic.
Plus I've left papers here too, so I'll take those. So I work very closely with the principals on an ongoing basis because I'm kind of like the first line of defense. Before I can even go to Charles and say, Charles, we need to add, we have looked at how are we moving people around. We had kids move out of district this summer that needed paras, that they left the district. And so we adjusted, and then we kept, so we adjust our numbers on an ongoing basis. I know it feels like it's continually going up since I've been here, and that's part of because we've been building the programming in district, but at the same time, we've looked very carefully. So if a student moves out of a classroom and say moves out of town, like we had a student move that had a one-on-one para that moved to another town over the summer, we reallocated that para. That para didn't just stay put and kind of like an old favorite piece of furniture. They got to just kind of hang out there. Ryan knew right away. He's like, all right, well that's great. I could move this para and move them over and take this position. So we look at that on an ongoing basis, and then we also look at that as we get closer to the end of summer or the end of the school year, and then we do it again and later in the summer as we have more shifting going on. We really do have we do have a lot of movement in and out of the district between open choice and some families that come and go. So there is a lot of adjusting as we go on. We're a small district, so we feel it more. If 3 kids leave that need paras, that can have our numbers drop down. If 4 kids come in that need para support, well, that may, now we've got a net change of 1 instead of 4, but it's still a net change.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And to your other point, I mean, we do see increase in numbers, and I realize it looks like a great percentage, but your point is really well made that this is a small district and you're talking about 6 students, right? And that's not a significant amount of movement.
And we also, our paras all really are well trained by our school psychologists, by our behavioral interventionist, everybody, to practice fading support. So it's not like, Dave, if you needed a para in first grade, that you're going to have somebody glued to you for the rest of your life. At the moment that you're ready to be independent, that para knows to fade back and maybe go help somebody else in the classroom, let you be independent while still being, having half an eye out on the student. So we are always practicing with fading support, because that is important. Children don't grow if they're not allowed to, flap their wings a little bit and fly.
Great. All right, thank you, Dawn. Was there further discussion? I think the motion was made and seconded, correct? Yep. All right, then, all in favor? Aye. Aye. All right, thank you all. Item D, discussion of occupational therapist certified position.
Okay, so this will be a quick discussion. I'm going to pull this recommendation back. And the reason for it is a function of Dawn's aggressive negotiating. She did the analysis and very similar to what we did with the electrician. Tried to figure out, would this be a better person to have on our faculty, or is this a better contracted service? She started working with Cheshire Fitness last week, and went back to them, and I think they heard that we might be considering our own internal person, and they came back to Dawn with some new numbers and some different ideas about how they could service us. And at this point, we feel like it's better to leave it as a professional service, continue to study the need, and potentially make adjustments as part of the budget process. But I want to thank Dawn for her due diligence and her work in frugal negotiating. I think I'm going to pull back this for right now, but we may revisit it as part of a 2023-2024 budget development.
So am I correct in assuming that the new contract that you're working on with Cheshire Fitness will come out to somewhere around what we budgeted?
Yes.
Approximately? Okay. Yep. All right. That takes us to the 2022-2023 Board of Education goals.
So, Kim, unfortunately, you haven't had a chance to spend a lot of time with these. As part of our board retreats this summer, we took a close look at them. I think that these board goals, which are sort of a continuation of last year's goals, but the initiatives are different, I think they reflect a really strong direction that the district's headed. I'm very excited about them. I think our priorities are right. Continue to focus on student social emotional well-being, continue to move our students forward academically, our focus on equity, and then of course our ongoing work in terms of school facilities. I think we have some terrific goals here, just so you're all aware. The leadership team has seen these and given their input on them, and I think they're very well supported. In my opinion of goals are always best when they're things that you're doing well, and they paint an optimistic and important vision for the district, and I think that I would love to see the board adopt these as presented.
Great. And we spent a good amount of time discussing these goals at our retreat a few weeks ago, but if there's further discussion, comments, questions about the goals before I ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the 2022-23 Portland Board of Education goals as presented.
Thanks, Meg. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Tim. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all. So the last item of new business is just to draw everyone's attention to our current Board of Ed committee assignments. I'm bringing this up because we have a new board member. We want to, likely this will be an agenda item on our next meeting to help Kim get situated on some committees, but I thought I'd put it out to everybody to
give it a little thought between now and then and let me know if you're looking for a change in assignment. If you're happy where you are, you can also let me know that. But I thought I'd put that out there for feedback. Feel free to get in touch with me between now and the next meeting. And I think we had in our files just the current status of the committees so that everyone can kind of take a look at that. All right. I think we can move on to old business, substitute teacher and substitute paraprofessional compensation for the 2022-2023 school year.
Okay. So we started talking about this last time, but I wanted to get everybody the documentation because this was vetted by the personnel committee, but I neglected to share all of the data with the full board. So just as a couple of ways to put a frame around this, substitute teachers, substitute paraprofessionals, substitute nurses, our building substitutes, they are an integral part of what we're doing. I know many of my principals on our leadership team is hearing me say that and nodding right along that. Substitutes, when we don't have them, are an incredible challenge logistically for us. And when we do have them, do a terrific job of maintaining that continuum of teaching and learning while the regularly assigned teacher is out. In the name of stability, one of my primary goals this year is to work on transportation and this issue, right? That last year, our fill rate for substitute teachers was not good, right? And I think, of course, we have to understand that that was a reflection in large part of people, who historically had been subs choosing to, sit out the year, largely because of pandemic readings, but also because of a general labor shortage across the state and country. And, people have lots of other options available to them now than maybe at a different time. As you can see, it was also complicated, and I share the numbers with you, by a large number of requests for subs because of teachers, principals, superintendent, others who were experiencing COVID. I mean, a lot of us got sick last year and had to be out the 5 days, in some cases longer, and some cases COVID went away after 5 days and we were lucky to bounce back. In some cases it took a little bit longer. And of course, lots of our young parents, teachers who are parents having kids who had COVID. It was a very, very, very challenging year in the world of substitute teachers. So at the end of the year, we had 2,493 requests for substitute coverage. Only 59% of that was filled. So about 40% of the requests for a sub were left unfilled. For paraprofessionals, it was 1,022 requests for substitute coverage. Only 29% of those were filled. And then total requests for nurses wasn't as bad. We had 53 and 75% were filled. So as we reflected on that, what are we hopeful for this year? We're hopeful that not as many people need subs because people don't get sick with anything, but certainly COVID being a contributing factor to that, hopefully it gets better, right? But also in our conversations with ESS, which is our vendor, they recommended that we increase what we pay our substitutes in order to stay competitive with surrounding districts. So I included with the memo and the recommendation for you a copy of that contract. That contract is up this year, so Stephanie and I are going to work with the personnel committee and likely go back out to bid and see if ESS will likely bid again, and there are other sub-services. And also as part of that, we're going to have a discussion and do an analysis about the prospect of bringing substitutes back into a district responsibility. The decision to go to ESS was made probably 5 years ago, and it was done as an effort in terms of human resources and to take that out of the district responsibilities. But when you do that, obviously you pay a premium for it, and that's sort of reflected in the contract that I shared with you. So my recommendation for you tonight is that we increase the amount we pay our substitute paraprofessionals to $14.60 an hour, the amount that we pay our day substitute teachers to $15.60 an hour, and what we pay our building substitute teachers who are here every day, $16.60 an hour. And as a reminder, minimum wage is going up to $15 an hour as of June 1st, so we're likely going to have to loop back to that paraprofessional compensation on June 1st, but at least it gets our day subs and our building subs above minimum wage. Right? That's on its way up. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, and hope that you can support this idea.
And for anyone who's looking to compare the hourly rate to the daily rate, which is what's in the contract here for us, I believe you said during our personnel meeting that our paras work a 6-hour day.
Paras work
Is
a
that
6
correct?
hour,
And
yep.
the teachers, substitute teachers work a 7.25-hour day?
Correct.
Okay.
One question, just a curiosity, how many building substitutes do we have?
One for each building.
Just one?
Yep.
Where I was going with that, my second question is, I know we used to get this before, I think ESS, is we used to have kind of an ongoing count of the amount of absences and what the fill rates were, and it's kind of fallen off where we don't get that data anymore. And it'd be nice to see, because in my business, we're comparing everything in 2019. We're forgetting about 2020 and 21, because it's such an anomaly, so we're trying to compare. So it'd be nice to go back to those numbers so we can get a baseline.
Yeah, I get that. For ESS has those numbers. You know, obviously they've been completely corrupted since March 2020,
Right,
but
right.
certainly, you know, there were 2 years where we could go back and get a look at, I guess, 17, 18, and 18, 19. And I think we should do that as part of the bidding process. You know, see how well they did in non-COVID
Right.
times, and otherwise see if we can write into the contract maybe some expectations about fill rate and.
Yeah, and where I was going with this is, I know somebody that's a building sub in Cromwell, and I'm thinking that's a great idea. You just give someone, you look at how many averages on day there's vacancies and get a couple of building subs, that would make that person, if we do decide to go that route, minimize the amount of chasing they have to do every day.
Yes, no doubt. That is the benefit of a building sub, no doubt. And even when, you know, there's never a lack of things to do, even if you're fully staffed that day and have a building sub, you know, that person can be helping out as a tutor or supervising the cafeteria, any number of different things that are in play. It's rare that a building sub is not needed for coverage, almost never happens, but once when in a blue moon, if it ever did, I imagine that person could be used in other capacities.
But there's usually multiple people out
Right.
in a building, so what's one building sub?
Yeah.
Multiple people.
Yes, between paras and teachers and secretaries and nurses and administrators, there's.
You could almost do the math, if you had the numbers over a long time, that says, hey, on average, we have 3.5 out every day. Hey, let's get in 2 building subs for this building, or 3 even. And yeah, there's gonna be some days you don't need them, but the extra money you're spending is worthwhile than the hassle of chasing, you know, get some of these.
Because remember, what we pay,
While
we pay the subs, and we pay 30% markup on that. That's what we pay. If we had it in-house, you can pay them the higher rate and not have to pay anything.
Right.
Yeah, but then you have to do the management.
You
Right.
still have to
Sure.
do the management part of it.
While we're talking about building subs, can I ask a question about the increase? Because I did the math on what the increases work out to be daily over what the current rate is. And it looks like, if I did the math correctly, it looks like the para substitutes will be getting 10 cents more per day than what they're currently making in the contract. The teachers would be getting $11.60 more per day than what's in the contract, but the building subs would be getting an increase of $18.85 a day.
Yep.
And I guess I just want to have a better understanding of, are we having a harder time filling those positions? Do you want more consistency there?
Yeah, I think it's what Dave said. I mean, I think we pay the premium for the consistency, and, you know, generally speaking, the level of responsibility of these positions, I think, is reflected in the salary.
Okay.
Not that the level, people interpret that the right way. You know, certainly a building sub, we can expect more from than the other positions.
Do you tend to have consistency with your building subs, that you get one person on board and they stay in that position for a long while?
No.
Or is it different every day?
No, I think that, you know, there's a pretty high turnover in building subs. A lot of our building subs go on to be paraprofessionals or secretaries or teachers, you know. There's not, I don't know any of our building subs that have been here for, you know, a long time. But I will say this, we have some really high quality building subs this year in particular. I've met several new ones, and they're great people who are considering career changes and want to kind of tiptoe into it and see if they like it, and are otherwise coaching and doing lots of neat things for the school. So we're lucky. We have really good people here.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Were there any more questions for Charles about the substitute compensation?
No, but thank you for providing this. That was, I didn't have this before, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, well then, is there a motion?
I'll move that we increase the substitute compensation to reflect what Charles presented tonight.
All right, thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Meg Scata.
Thanks, Meg. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say, it's so hard to get good quality people in front of our students, and nobody wants to pay more, but you have to be willing to step up and pay the wage necessary to attract people into your school system. So I think this is a step that was well needed, and hopefully it'll have the result that we want.
Agreed. And hopefully it makes us more competitive with the districts surrounding us who are all currently paying more than we are paying.
Yeah, we want to kick their butts.
Or at least provide, adequate compensation. Either way. All right, the motion has been made and seconded. If there's not any further discussion, then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, it is unanimous. Thank you. We can move on to committee reports. First is curriculum. And I'll just say that the curriculum committee has not yet met. We are looking at shifting around the membership on the curriculum committee, and hopefully after we solidify membership on that committee at our next meeting, then the curriculum committee will be meeting shortly thereafter. Policy.
Policy has a meeting coming up next week, I believe, on Wednesday at 1:30.
Yep. All right. Personnel. We had a meeting last week or the week before and covered much of what we discussed this evening. I don't believe there was anything further to mention.
No.
All right. Buildings and grounds.
We met on August 22nd, and we had an update from Bob Shea, our new facilities administrator. Summer work went well. Schools were ready for opening and looked really great. And he's very pleased with the personnel that he's got to work with. And there was a lot of work being completed, a lot of things behind the scenes, not visible, but they did paint and they did update some of the HVAC. So it was a very productive summer.
That's great. Can I just ask quickly, Meg, there was a note in your email, Charles, that the removal of the oil tanks has been postponed so as not to be disruptive to students.
Right. Yeah,
is
but
that postponed till winter, or does that have to wait till next summer?
A good question. I have to follow up, but by the time we got the bids in and secured the vendor, it would have been the start of school.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't comfortable having oil tanks removed when kids were in classes for
obvious
disruptive
reasons.
Right. So Bob spoke with the vendor, and it can be done over a school vacation. I'm not sure whether that's Thanksgiving, Christmas, or next April.
Okay.
But I can find that out and get back to you.
I'm curious. I'm wondering if that depends on frozen grounds.
Right.
and-
Literally. Yeah. I'll let you. I'll put that in the Friday update.
Great, thank you. Go to our liaisons. Correct liaison.
CREC is going to meet on September 21st at 11:30.
Okay, and Board of Selectmen?
The only significant thing is they read a certificate of congratulations to the Portland High School golf team.
Nice.
Recognized tonight as well. So it was nice they recognized them as well.
Yeah.
That was about it. Significant.
Great. Our Committee on Solidarity?
Their next meeting is the 15th of September.
All right. Equity and Inclusion Coalition, have you all met yet, or is that coming up?
We've not met yet. I think it's coming soon.
Eric sent out a couple of emails. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but
Sure.
all those preparations are
Hoping
in
for
motion.
September 22nd.
Yeah, that
Okay.
sounds right. Yeah.
Great. Our School Facility Study Committee.
The next meeting for the committee is on September the 12th, And the public is invited to a meeting on September 14th at the middle school. It's another focus group, and it's the last one out of 14 that you've done all summer. So incredible, incredible job. And on the 12th, we'll hear really a good overview of what Charles and Lou Pear have heard. I will add that Lou Pear and I are going to go to Rocky Hill tomorrow to look at a couple of new school buildings. So we're going to do a tour.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Charles, I know you conducted focus groups with both the Democratic and Republican town committees, and that you were working to schedule something with the senior center or a couple of the senior communities.
Right. So Lou did reach out to them. They weren't really available. I think a lot of the feedback was what you might expect from senior center, which is we want good schools and low taxes.
Okay.
But we decided to have one more focus group and invite the community, including seniors who would be able to come.
Okay. All right. So we can spread the word that that's going to be September 14th?
Yep.
Great. And Stacy's not here to report on the Youth Services Advisory Board, so maybe we'll get an update from her next time. All right, audience of citizens. Do we have anybody? I don't believe we have anyone in person. Is there anyone online who would like to offer comment?
Nobody has responded to the chat yet.
Okay, thank you. Are there any Board of Education member comments? Just work my way down the row. Meg?
I'll start. I was pleased to see the article that was in the River East, I think last week or the week before, about stability. It was a very nice article, and I think that was an important message to get out to the community, and it was just nicely done. Also, they did a very nice piece on Sharon and her contributions as a board member, and also other positions that she's held, elected positions that she's held in the town. So she will be missed for all of her expertise, but I know she's happy in a new job. So both do two nice pieces of PR, and happy school opening. It sounds like it went well, and I'm excited to see all the wonderful things happening this year in the school.
Dave? Lauren?
Welcome, Kim.
And welcome, Kim,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Tim?
Just saying welcome, Kim, and congratulations, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I will just mention briefly that welcome, Kim. We're so glad you're joining us. And also, Meg and I attended the CABE Summer Leadership Training 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Yep.
It was a really interesting afternoon. There was a lot of good conversation around school safety and in particular on student voice. And I just wanted to share with you all that Meg ran a panel with 2 high school students who were speaking to how boards of education and administrative teams can draw on student voice, and it was really lovely. And you did a really nice job, and the students were phenomenal, and I think
They were phenomenal.
It was very
really
well
a lot of
received
fun.
by all the board members who attended.
It
So.
was a lot of fun. I also just want to say CABE is getting ready, gearing up now for their convention in November. If anybody can attend, they should consider it and take a look at the program. And also, I'm on the executive board, and we're meeting on Thursday to talk about the convention and other new things. Patrice McCarthy, by the way, is the new executive director, and that was Bob Rader retired, so she's now the new director. So exciting things happening there as well.
And Kim, I didn't mean to skip over you with member comments. Is there anything you would like to say?
Thank you very much. I want to say that I am honored to be appointed, and I'm looking forward to working together with all of you to help move our schools forward. So thank you all.
That's great, and we're excited to get you in person next time.
Sure.
I have a response on
Me
that.
too. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to go ahead? Sure, jump in, Charles.
Real quick, I just want to let you know, I got a response already back from Bob Shea. The oil tank's coming out Columbus Day, November 10th, our Professional Development Day, and November 25th or 27th, which is
Perfect. Wonderful. That's great. That'll be nice to have that completed. Okay. I do not believe we have any executive session items, so I will take a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn? Thank you, Lauren. I heard Dave first, so I'm giving it to him. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank
Bye.
you. Everybody have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, yeah. Good